Today is Thursday, July 31st in the so-called year 2008, and I'm out here in the park, Mandrake Park at 39th and Cottage Grove in Chicago, Illinois. And again, I welcome an opportunity to make some presentation, make some sense out of this world, out of this society. And I really appreciate the work that you have been doing, Brother Mark, all these many years, trying to bring knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to our people and to others. I think I want to talk about several things. And of course, when I do what I do, I usually refer people to books. I quote past leaders and teachers because I feel that our young people, especially, need the guidance, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding that older individuals have bequeathed us and left us. We all know that life is short. Life is finite. We're not here forever. And as we speak, I am 57 years on the planet, and hopefully I got about 20 more. So my task as a culture worker, a black nationalist and Pan-Africanist orientated individual, my task is to add to the sane voices, add to the sane literature, the sane knowledge, to help our people become sane rather than insane and empowered. Now, as we sit here, Brother Mark, and your listening audience, we must be aware that there are two things swirling all around us. The late, great Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, West Africa, said that the world is made up of negative action and positive action, and that is a reality, and that at any given time, negative action can be dominating, or conversely, positive action can be dominating, or they can exist roughly close. So we're facing a lot of problems here in America, the so-called land of the free and the home of the brave. Our people, long before we got here, also faced problems here in the land of the free and in the home of the brave. One of the things that I want to do is urge our young people and adults, but our young people especially, to get into the habit of being able to define the things around them correctly. Your definition must correspond to reality, or else your conclusions will be off, and any kind of actions that you design will not solve the problem. We have to go back to some basic things, and of course, I'm a strong believer in getting at the wisdom that our other leaders and teachers before us laid down for us. I'm talking about the Marcus Garveys, the Harriet Tubmans, the Malcolm X's, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's, the Kwame Ture, formerly Stokely Carmichael, and a whole plethora of people. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. One of my main mentors, black family, is Dr. Maulana Karenga of the organization US, the architect of a philosophy called Kawaida. He also created Kwanzaa, the African-American holiday, African-American Pan-African holiday, and he's a master organizer. One of the things that I want to quote him on is he says that we must commemorate the past, to raise and praise the sacred names and sustaining practices of the ancestors. We commit ourselves or recommit ourselves to the dignity affirming and life enhancing views and values that they have left to ground and guide us. Now, a key word in there is sustaining practices of the ancestors. In other words, there were things that they found out a long time ago. You know, there were principles that they were able to develop a long time ago. And even though they may have been dead and gone physically hundreds of years, those principles and that analysis that they had remains. And even though we're in the so-called year 2008, you got all this new technology, the computer, you got all this cell phone technology and a lot of things that you didn't have years ago. A proper understanding of the society, the things that it is built upon, the history of it, the principles that animate it remain the same. I am fond of saying that there is a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant ruling elite. For example, Dick Cheney, Karl Rove, both Bushes. They are basically, along with a lot of other white elites, moving off the philosophy, values, and views of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, that guy Jackson in the South, Andrew Jackson, and a lot of those racist white so-called founding fathers. Even though we're 400 years removed from that almost, 200, 300 years removed from that, that thought is still animating the powers that be. So conversely, we who are struggling against want, toil, and domination at the hands of those elites, we must utilize the rich reservoir of nationalist and Pan-Africanist principles, views, and values and analysis that we have, that we've been fortunate to have from some of our giants, heroes, and sheroes. That doesn't change. The technology may change. You know, we might go from enslavement to sharecropping feudalism to wage laboring in the cities, but those principles remain intact. I am fond of saying, Brother Mark Sims, that America is not the land of the free and the home of the brave. It is in fact a master race democracy in its inception. It began as a European settler colony. Some folks in Europe developed the miniature missile launcher or the gun. They had bad ideas about everybody of color on the planet. Racist ideas, racist philosophy, racist religion. And they developed ships to navigate the seas and went around the world conquering, ruling, murdering, plaguing everybody else on the planet. Even though we're here in year 2008, that fact remains a fact. And we can't just overlook that or say that that's some stuff from the 60s, that, oh, that played out. We don't need to know or understand that fact. Another thing is that it started as what the Germans call a Herrenvolk democracy, which is a word for master race. Democracy for them only. So we have to understand that. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and all of them were slave owners. We have to understand that. When they broke away from Europe, Europe was ruled by a political system called royal absolutism, where the king and queen was above the people. They had a system of economics called mercantilism. So some of the upcoming people in Europe had a problem with that, concentrating all the wealth in the royal court and the king and queen's family. So they came over to these lands and settled in the interests of Great Britain and England